hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Devil May Cry 4, Dante Must Die difficulty, triple S rank walkthrough. This is mission 16, it's entitled Inferno, and we're in the lab taking on, are they called cutlasses? I think they're called cutlasses. They're the stupid fish that swim in metal that piss me off. The best way I've found to kill them with Dante is to prop shredder them out of their flying arc and then hit them with a distorted rail impact. If you're aware enough and you're skilled enough, you can do it with minimum effort. I don't really like that as a fight, I think it's a bit shit, but then again I don't like this level. I think this level is one of the worst in the Dante campaign for rank, especially because it's very long. There's a boss at the end of it who's pretty simple, but every so often he can give you a problem. And there's just... I failed this level about 7 times. And you might be thinking, wow, it must be really hard. And I wish it was, guys. I truly wish it was, but it's not hard. I just couldn't find the fucking orbs. And it turns out the ones I missed are all because I didn't realise that when you Devil Trigger with Dante, he can air hike twice. So when we get back to Fortuna Castle, the castle we've been in a million times already, the cache I got with Nero when you jump up that little balcony thing, that's the one I was missing. And I missed it every time until I had to look it up on the internet because if I said I was getting mad, I would be understating just how mad I was getting. I was contemplating quitting the guide because it was pissing me off so much. I was looking everywhere. I had one finish time on a run that was like 30 minutes because I was looking absolutely everywhere for it and I still didn't get the S on the orbs. And would I have saved myself time to look it up sooner? Yes, I would have, but I always feel an obligation to figure things out myself when I'm recording because I think it gives it a little bit more validity, and I did not mean to do that. It winds me up. Like, I'd have a really good run where I'd do rooms no damage, or I'd do rooms super stylishly with some awesome juggles and some jump cancelling, which you haven't really seen me do too much of because I don't really like jump cancelling in this game. And then I'd get to the end and I'd get an A on fucking orbs. And it had happened so many times, and I'm a type of player that the more I play, the worse I get. In a session, that is. You know, sometimes you just have to take a break and you come back and you do something really simply. But, like, when I start getting frustrated, I play like trash, and I really should stop. Sometimes perseverance can pay off, other times it doesn't. It all depends, and I don't know what it is, it's just one of those things. But the good news is, this video should help you avoid what I struggled with. I also tried some interesting strategies on Burial. I tried jump cancelling with Lucifer for a little bit, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I find interrupting the Lucifer attack with air hike doesn't really work so well, so I kept getting clipped on moves that I personally felt shouldn't have hit me. But here is a couple of Angelos. Another thing on this level too, the style requirement is surprisingly high. There's also a terrible fight against the fucking dogs I hate, which I don't know the name of. Wanker dogs is what I call them, I think it's appropriate. Watch out. There we go. So one way to handle these situations is you can wait for the big fella to turn up, the gold guy with the wings. And then he'll do the orb move, and then you can use the orb move to get some easy style points. But I think that only applies on the second encounter in this room. I think the first one is just these guys. That right there, I didn't know they could do that. I don't think I've ever stood behind them long enough for them to do that. Pretty interesting. That's pretty cool, that. And this is a terrible fight, which is frustrating because I had better in the previous runs, but this is the one that got the full rank. So look at the style meter when I do that move. That move is hilariously broken for building style. It's really, really good. But we are being gradually poisoned. You can see my life is vibrating. So if you wanted to do a no damage run, completely purist no damage, I don't think you physically could because of this mission, which is always nice when the developers put that in there. Or the mandatory damage from a cutscene, always a good addition. This is the area where you can use the gold guy to punish his buddies, but just bear in mind, he's a bit of a stubborn bastard, and sometimes he doesn't do it. Sometimes he does. This is one of the times he doesn't. There's going to be a second gold guy as well, so if you can keep your combo from this gold guy to the second gold guy, you should be okay. Alright, here he comes. Please don't miss. Oh, there we go. You see, I've abandoned the shotgun method, and I've just done the prop shredder, which I can't remember if that's always been its name. Believe it or not, at one time, I used to know the moves. I used to know pretty much all the moves, but the problem when you play so many games is it all kind of jumbles together. Certain games don't, but after time, you eventually lose it. You know, it's replaced by new memories or something. Like Dark Souls 1, I used to know the name of everything. Nowadays, there's probably a couple of things which I couldn't tell you what they were if I saw them. And when you're into a game, and you're super into a game, this is one of the caches I was missing as well. I think I forgot to get it one time, and then I remembered, and it still didn't give me the S because I was missing the Fortuna one. It's the Fortuna Castle that got me. So frustrating. And this level's actually full of a lot of things that aren't fighting too. A lot of fucking bouncing on launch pads because the game wasn't designed for Dante. You know, a lot of like stupid moments. Like this was in Devil May Cry 3. But it happened in Devil May Cry 3 once, I think. This game, they just seem to put them everywhere. And I'm incredibly good at landing on them, as you can see. A lot of people say too that it diversifies the gameplay. And it does. But I do believe there are better ways to diversify your gameplay than bouncing on these springboards and breaking barrels, which you have to break for the best rank. Someone else mentioned too that they noticed I was walking a lot, and it was from my pad being knackered. Have I ever considered getting a new pad? I've been wanting a new pad for a long time. The problem is I'm tight. I'm a very frugal person, and I'm living a very budgeted existence right now because I'm trying to follow a dream. And it turns out following a dream doesn't pay very well. Regardless of how many hours you put in, regardless of how stubborn or how passionate you are, it's more luck than anything else. So I have to use my money wisely. And I did buy a new controller. I bought one for, I think it was 15 quid. It was the Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3 official controller. And to look at it, it sounded great. It had trigger stops, it had programmable buttons, it had all this other stuff, and it was at a really good price. It was wired, which is what I wanted. It was everything I wanted in a controller, and to look at it on the box, it looked exactly like a normal official Xbox controller, just with these extra functions. And I bought it, and it was like fucking baby sized. It was Playday sized, crazy pad, which immediately I was just horrified at because, you know, I've been using an Xbox controller, an official one, since I got my Xbox, which has been, you know, like 8 years ago, and I'm incredibly comfortable and familiar with how the controller feels. So when I got this new one, you know, it was like somebody put their dick in my hands, and you're just kind of like, oh, I didn't know what to do with it. It felt weird. And I was playing stuff like Dark Souls, and I was trying to do things that I do subconsciously without realising on an Xbox pad, and things were in a different place on this controller, so it didn't work. Like, they moved the dash button, they moved the start and select button, stuff like that, so I would go to press these buttons, and they wouldn't be there, and it was just super weird. On the flip side, the analogs felt great, the triggers felt great, and then after about a week of owning it, I started having a trigger problem on one game I played, which was Wolfenstein. I got Wolfenstein to cover it, and I started having this weird problem where it kept aiming for no reason. And it affected how I played the game, and it wound me up a lot. And then I went and played some Dark Souls 2, and it didn't have any issues on Dark Souls 2. Then I started playing some Vanquish, you know, a couple of weeks later, and boom, it was back to having that weird aiming problem. So I have a pristine pad underneath my desk where I sit right now, that sporadically fucks me, that I can't take back because I've had it too long, that's in pristine condition with a faulty trigger. And when I went to the shop to buy it, they told me that it was the only one that they had, so it's not as easy as just going to swap it. I would have to go, you know, through the manufacturer. And when I look at all the reviews for it, they say it's a known problem, and in fact it's a problem that's bigger by other people's experience than mine is. So it's one of those things where I can kind of put up with a temperamental trigger every so often. So I'd rather just deal with it and then probably pick up another pad when I can find one at a budget decent price. And I'll just keep on playing with the one I'm using, which is, albeit very hard right now. Very hard? Why did I say that? I'm so hard right now. Ugh, such a hard pad. It's very hold? I'm just losing language. It's ridiculous. It's old. It's fucking old. It's machine head old. And it has problems. Its dead zones are dead. You know, they've been buried. So the analogs are atrocious in every conceivable way. The cable is loose, so if I get excited or I move too erratically suddenly, it disconnects the controller. You know, there's a lot of problems with it, but I'm also the type of person who, if it isn't completely falling to pieces, I will use it, you know. I generally wear my trainers until they fall off my feet, and then I buy new ones. You know, I'm not the type of person who has to have everything pristine and perfect. It's just not who I am. Oh, this is the strategy, by the way, that I mentioned that the Godfather Dictator showed me. And I say showed me like he did a presentation just for me. On his live commentated videos for this game, he did them a couple of years back now. I can't believe it's been that long. I said months on the last video. But he did this strategy. It's incredibly safe. It's much faster than my method. And it enables me to skip this shitty fight. So, big props to him. If you've never heard of him, he is a French-Canadian from French Canada, should I say. And he's one of the better YouTube channels I've ever seen. He does incredibly skillful things on games that you may be familiar with, so you should probably check him out. He's also started doing some commentary, which I think is a really good touch for him, because not only does he have an accent, which people seem to love accents, but he brings his own spin to the channel. And hopefully it's going to benefit him with more subscribers, and his channel is going to continue to build, because if anybody deserves it, I would say he is one of them who does. But this is his strategy, and it's a clever one. So there's the fight, and now I can get the orb caches on top of the pillows and get some of my life back. And the only thing left on this level now is to run away from the dogs, get another 2 orb caches, and then fight Burial. Excuse me. And at this point, if you don't have enough style points, you have to make up in the Burial fight. The problem there is if you get hurt, you're going to drop your rank, and it's going to drop your style points, so it'll take you a while to get back to it. And if you really need to compensate during Burial, you probably need to no-damage him, which is not that tough to do. I'm just really sloppy with my Burial fights recently. But here are the dogs. It's another one of those weird spawns where they seem to have thrown them in here just to give you something to do while you come this way. Or also you're going to see my pad really frustrate me here. Whenever I jump, it's because my controller will not run. Like, there's no reason for me to stylishly walk away from these asshole dogs at all. It's just the dead zone saying, what's a dead zone? But we'll get there eventually. With my pedestrian walk. And it's only when I have to hold the analog down. Every other direction is usually pretty good. Every so often it can screw me, but down is the big one. The dead zone on down is just non-existent. But if you jump up here, there is an orb waiting for you. It's one of the last ones you're going to need to pick up. But here come the dogs because of my controller. And I'm happy to say that I'm blaming my controller for the right reasons there. I've been watching Darkside Phil with my girlfriend. It's really funny because I did a series with Danielle where we would watch The Good Idea, Bad Idea, which is a series that is essentially showing Darkside Phil at his lowest, where he thinks a mechanic is bugged and says the game is broken and blames everything but himself, when in fact it's really himself. We believe it's probably like a mild autism spectrum, something along those lines, because he never ever remotely believes that he is to blame for his problems. It is always something else. It's always something else to the point of it is delusion at its highest. It's pathological, it's amazing. And this series highlights some of these moments. And a couple months back, I got Danielle to face these situations that DSP got stuck with. And if you don't know who this man is, I'm not going to insult him or anything, because I actually like him. I think he's hilarious. But he is a former professional fighting player and he will never let you forget this fact, who won tournaments and things, and did impressive stuff. He's now a professional gamer because he makes his living by playing games. And he creates live playthroughs of pretty much every game that comes out and entertains people with his interesting commentary style of ad-libbed humour, which he seems to think is much more funny than it actually is. And that's what he does. And what this video essentially highlights is moments where he gets stuck on something very silly and then blames the game. And then it shows you somebody do it and then he does it. And I put my girlfriend on these moments, and she did every single one of them significantly faster than he did. And all I did not help her. I told her the controls of what the game tells you at that point. I told her what was expected of her, the way the game does, and then I let her go in those circumstances, and she did them faster than he did. Bearing in mind some of these challenges that I set for my girlfriend were in places at the end of the game where you've had a full campaign's experience to learn how to do these functions, and he was still failing. She had none of that and still did them, proving that to just an average Joe gamer, because my girlfriend likes games but she's not a big gamer, to come in, be faced with what she's meant to do, and then do it. Game is functional, functions. But this person is so interesting that they never see that. And it sucks because I should have recorded them. They would have made for some really interesting videos. And they inspired a series that's going to be coming soon to the channel called Danielle Conquers, which is where I'm going to put her into some insane situations and see how she fares. And we've already recorded one. We will record more, and they should be pretty interesting. But DSP, man, always blames his controller. Always. It's unbelievable. And I blamed my controller in this video. Hopefully you think it was for a good reason. I do. He might not. But there's got to be something to blame, you know, when the game doesn't go your way, I guess. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.